All right. Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome to our second monthly A Mighty Blaze pop-up book rec party. My name is Mary Rummer O'Malley, and I am a producer, sometimes host, author liaison for A Mighty Blaze. And A Mighty Blaze is an extremely talented group of volunteers that came together in the early days of COVID to put together readers and authors and the books that they needed to read. So we have evolved into just an amazing show. There's a show almost every day of the week. We have debuts. We have a podcast that Trisha hosts. We have Friday Frontliners that Caroline and Jenna and some of the other people host. We have Thoughtful Bro. I think I said debuts, but 2 debut shows. Am I forgetting any of our we have Litfic and all kinds of other special interviews. So if you are not already a subscriber to our newsletter, please go to our website and sign up for our newsletter. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Twitter or X. So again, we're a group of volunteers, and we appreciate every follow and everyone that joins us for our different broadcasts. And tonight, we just come together in a very informal group, and we all share what we're reading this month and what books that we want you all to know about that are releasing in April. So I know I have a big stack.
You certainly do.
Somebody? I do. So we have Trisha, we have Karen. Karen puts together our newsletter. She's a producer. She's behind the scenes doing everything all the time. She keeps the fires blazing. And Caroline, as I said, is our wonderful, one of the co-founders of the Blaze and host of Litfic and Friday Frontliners. So who wants to go first tonight? Caroline!
I do. Okay. Amy Shern, Dear Edna Sloan. This is a great book for any writer because it's about the price of success. You know, it's about this one novelist who became a woman who became really, really famous, and then she vanished. And years later, her editor kept thinking if he could find her again, he would be famous. So it's really about, what's the next best thing and what isn't. Also, Amy writes fabulously. She's witty, she's smart, she's amazing. It's a great book.
What a cover.
Isn't it a great cover? It's a great cover. Helen Benedict, who is going to be on The Blaze, The Good Deed. This is about a woman on the opposite side of a refugee camp in Greece. Everything Helen Benedict writes is immersive, which means you read it, you feel like you're there. It's very, it's powerful, it's stark, it's prescient. It feels like it could be written today. Wait, I have more. This book is not on bookshop.org, but it's really important. Mother Love by Jean Tronstein. Jean Tronstein is a prison activist. She used to run this program called Changing Lives Through Literature, which is part of being on probation. Prison women had to take a course where they would all discuss a book, and I got to go a few times, and it was a blast. It was really amazing and interesting. Unfortunately, that class has been continued, but Jean wrote this book, Mother Love, which is about mothers of kids who killed. Something that it's all short stories. It's moving. It's incredible. It'll change the way you feel about justice. She's involved in the Innocent Project. And the interesting thing about this book is that this book is published by a social place, and this particular book is free. All you have to do to get it, if you get it, you have to sign an agreement that you're going to give the money you would have given to the book to a charity of your choice. And it's through the Concord Free Press, and it's just fabulous. Okay, this book makes me very, very happy. The Cheesemaker's Daughter by Kristen Vukovic. Kristen came to me like 3 years ago, and she said, I have this novel. I don't know what to do with it. Will you help me? So I worked with her for a year, and then I sent it to my old editor, Andra Miller, who helped her more. It's an amazing book. It's about cheese making in, I don't want to say Yugoslavia, in Croatia, and which is something Kristen did. And the book is just so interesting. It makes you want to eat cheese all the time. Plus,
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's a great book. Look at this cover. It's just really, truly fabulous. And it's interesting. It's about yearning and love and what it means to, come back to home, because she's going back home from America. And also, when I was done with this, Kristen brought me a present. She gave me, there's this cheese called Pog cheese, and it's as big as my head. And she gave it to me, and we couldn't cut it because it was so hard. So I called my local cheese store, and I said, I have Pog cheese, and I can't cut it. And this guy said, oh, you have Pog cheese? And I could hear him saying to everybody else, she has Pog cheese. And they said, bring it down, bring it down. So I brought it down, and all these 5 people stood around admiring the cheese. Then they took a wire and they cut it up. And I said, you know what? This is too much cheese for me. Why don't you take some? And they nearly all passed out on the floor. They said, really, Pog cheese? Cheese is the most delicious cheese ever. And this book is just really wonderful. And if you love cheese, you're going to love this book. Absolutely wonderful. Wait, I have more. I have more. I thought I had more. Oh, yeah. This is from Marone Ellen Meister. She's taking over one of our shows. And it's Divorce Towers. It's fun. It's bubbly. It's interesting. It's well written. You want to read this book. And the last book I have, well, actually I have 2 more. I lied. I have 2 more. This one I just got. It's not going to be out until July. It's Jamie Attenberg's new book, A Reason to See You Again. It's written in the 70s.
That's a cool cover.
Isn't it a great cover? It's like when we had phones. It's written in the 70s. It's about the Cohen family and their stresses and how they go through the decades. It's Jamie Attenberg, and that's all you need to know that you want this book. And the final book is, I haven't read this one yet, but I had to pick it up because I like the title. It's called Olive Days. It's by Jessica Emerson, and it is about a young modern Orthodox Jewish girl and her family. So of course, I'm so there. I love to read about Orthodox cultures or any kind of different culture. And I read the first page. I did already, and I thought it was absolutely wonderful. So you want this book too. And I just have one more to mention, which is I want to mention Trisha Blanchard's book. Everybody has to buy it and read it. She's wonderful. And I want to mention Mark Cecil's book, Bunyan and
Henry
and Bunyan. It's great. And if there's anybody else here who has a book that I haven't mentioned, we all should go on and buy that book too. I mean, like today.
And I will be interviewing Mark. If there are anybody watching who's in the Chicago area, I'll be interviewing him at the Bookseller on Tuesday night. So I'm super excited for that.
Me too.
Karen's coming along.
Yeah, I'm coming.
Nice. I have FOMO.
And we have one of our Blaze super fans, Christina Powers, who's going to come along with us as well. So it's going to be a great night.
Nice. I'm stuck here in the snowy Northeast.
Well, it's still kind of snow and rain all day for the past couple of days in the Chicago area, but spring is coming.
Supposedly.
All right. Well, I am going to talk about Days of Wonder.
I use my tiny hands for this.
So my book-selling best friend, Pamela Klingerhorn, and I were just on the Thoughts from a Page podcast. We do quarterly episodes with our most anticipated titles. And we both agreed that this may be Caroline's best book yet.
Mm.
This is just, you want to talk immersive. All I have to do is think about the book and I'm right back in the pages. And Caroline, if I mess any part of this up, correct me, but this was inspired by the story of a friend of yours,
Yeah.
right? Who had a baby while she was in prison. So this book is about a young woman who is accused of attempting to murder her boyfriend's father. She gives birth in prison, gives the baby up for adoption, and then when she is released many years later, goes on a quest to find her child. But I mean, there are so many layers to this story, and they're just woven together so beautifully. I do not read electronically. I need a book in my hands, but the book was not on paper yet. So I was asked if I would at least look at it electronically until I could get the paper copy. I was glued to my laptop. I could not walk away once I started reading this. It is the most beautiful book. And I have the honor of being in conversation with Caroline and Mark Cecil at the Unbound Book Festival in 2 weeks in Columbia, Missouri. Can't wait for that. But Days of Wonder, and I know I'm not the only one who's going to be talking about that book, so I'll leave some space for Karen to talk about it as well. This is not the final cover of this book. The final cover looks a little more like this. It's the husbands. And on the cover, there's a ladder, and it says the husbands. This is one of the most unique books I have read in ages. It is by Halle Gramazio. And this woman is out partying one night. She's pretty tipsy. She comes home to her apartment where she lives alone, or her little house where she lives alone. And there's a man there. And she freaks out. And the man is her husband, but she's not married. And through this book, every time a man goes into the attic, another husband comes out. And when I first read, I thought, how is she going to do this where it's not cheesy? Or she is brilliant. So some of these men she's dated in her life. So it just imagines, what if I married this one? What if I married that one? When she figures out what's going on, somebody will come down and she'll take one look at him and be like, nope, go up into the attic and get me something. I'm just not even going to do this. And someone else comes down. But then it's, who's good enough? And what do you want to live with? And what's important in a husband? There's so much going on. I laughed out loud at this book, but there's such a great underlying message of, if you could have your pick, who do you choose and why? And it's really, really brilliantly done. Brilliantly done. Next, I say this is a great book for fans of Fannie Flagg. It's Small Town. This is The Flower Sisters by Michelle Collins Anderson. It's historic fiction drawing on the little-known true story of one tragic night at an Ozarks dance hall in the author's Missouri hometown. Has very Fannie Flagg feel to it. That small town that just kind of makes you want to pack up and move to one, where everybody knows you, and that's a blessing and a curse. So The Flower Sisters by Michelle Collins Anderson, a delightful historic fiction novel. This next one is based in history as well. All of this was unknown to me. This is Clear. Look at a little slim novel packed with story by Karis Davies, author of West and the Mission House. This is, it takes place in the time of the Scottish clearings, when wealthy landowners went through their land and cleared all of the impoverished farmers off to make room for sheep herding or whatever. They cleared them and sent them packing. And they were able to do that. In this book, it's one of the outlying Scottish islands. And oh my gosh, this book is so immersive. You feel just cold and damp, and you can hear the crash of the waves on the rocks. And there's one last man living on this island. The people who lived there with him have either died or moved away. He's the last remaining one. He lives in a very humble little hut. He's isolated. He's alone. And there is a minister who is hurting for money and has been offered a nice paycheck to go and clear this last guy off this island. So the minister goes to clear him off, but he has an accident and becomes gravely injured. And so the man who lives there finds him, brings him to his cottage, nurses him back to health, and they form this, hi, Anissa! They form this beautiful, tender friendship. They don't speak the same language. They learn to speak each other's language. Eventually, the minister's wife, who was expecting him back a while ago, goes in search of him. It's an unforgettable little book. Absolutely. I will never forget the story I read in these pages. So that's Clear by Karis Davies. Couple more. Have to talk about Somehow Thoughts on Love by Anne Lamott. In this day and time, in this world, this book will help to heal your soul. Somehow, Anne, she's realistic. She's not all, butterflies and unicorns and rainbows and flowers. She's very realistic, and yet she just another slim little novel. It's stories and essays. One of the things she talks about in here is, if Jesus Christ was alive today, he'd be like lying on a couch with a cool rag on his head with what is going on with the world. And yet it's going to be okay. I get the absolute honor of interviewing Anne on A Mighty Blaze, May 24th or 25th. I think it's the 25th. So I will be talking to Anne about this beautiful book. Make sure you tune in for that. Buy your copy in the meantime. This is the book that I want to give to everyone in my life that is struggling or who has struggled. It's just, I want to give these copies away to everybody. So somehow. Two more. A Short Walk Through a Wide World. This is a gift to readers everywhere. This is just absolutely beautiful. It's The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue meets Life of Pi in this dazzlingly epic debut. I could not believe this was a debut. It is a little bit of magic, a lot of travel, and a love story to readers. Paris, 1885. Aubrey Tourvel, a spoiled and stubborn 9-year-old girl, comes across a wooden puzzle ball on her walk home from school. She tosses it over the fence, only to find it in her backpack that evening. Days later, at the family dinner table, she starts to bleed to death. They take her to the doctor, and she quickly figures out that the only way to heal herself is to move, to keep moving. So she spends the rest of her life traveling the world. She can never return to the same place. She has to just keep going. And it's about the people she meets along the way and these kind of magical little wormholes that she finds that are these secret magic libraries that then spit her out somewhere else. It's such a beautiful, beautiful book. A Short Walk Through a Wide World, Douglas Westerbeek. Magic in these pages. And my final book, and this was my pared down stack too, I'm telling you, April is just a blockbuster month. The Cemetery of Untold Stories by Julia Alvarez. I love her writing. She puts you into the story immediately with within a few sentences. You know the setting, you know who the players are, you know where you are. So this is Alma Cruz, the celebrated writer, doesn't want to end up like her friend, a novelist who fought so long and hard to finish a book that it threatened her sanity. So when she inherits a small plot of land in the Dominican Republic, her homeland, she turns it into a cemetery to bury her untold stories. So she creates a graveyard and buries her manuscripts and gives them little headstones and things and thinks they can rest here and I won't be hounded to finish them. Little does she know that the characters, they come to life within the cemetery and they start talking to the caregiver and to each other and they don't behave. This is charming and beautiful and magical. And I loved every sentence of it. The Cemetery of Untold Stories by Julia Alvarez.
Woo.
Oh, a list that can be copied and saved.
Actually, if you go to bookshop.org, almost everything we talk about should be on there. Bookshop.org, A Mighty Blaze's stall or shop or whatever they call it.
Yes.
And this video will be on YouTube, on the Mighty Blaze YouTube site, and you can go watch it anytime. If you want to just like fast forward to a certain book title you forgot or something, you can always do that.
Great suggestions, Trisha. Who's next?
I'll go next, sure. Let's see. The first one, if I can show you, The Missing Corpse. And I'm going to butcher this name, but it's by Jean-Luc Banalek, I think. This is an example of buying a book solely because of the title. I literally didn't even read the back of the book. I was on a ski trip and in Ludlow, Vermont, and I was with a large group of people, and we walked by a tiny little bookshop. And I said, oh my gosh, I got to run in here. But everybody was waiting for me out on the sidewalk. So I just ran in and I was like, very quickly, I said, oh, I like that title, that one. Just grabbed it. And it turns out it's really interesting. I believe, if I had to guess, it is translated from French into English.
Wow.
And it is a super interesting murder mystery set in the Brittany region of France. There's a lot about the food of the region and the landscape of the region. And the mystery involves a retired starlet. She was a starlet. Now she's retired. And she sees a dead body out on the street and she reports it to the police. But by the time the police get there, the body is gone. So nobody believes her, of course, but she was right. She's not a dead body. So it's like the whole mystery is what happened to this missing corpse. It is a little dense for my taste, to be honest with you. It's almost like following an actual crime investigation as opposed to a fictional one, but they leave no detail out. So if you like really highly detailed crime fiction and murder mysteries, this one's a great choice. My other two are audio, so I have nothing to hold up for you, unfortunately. So I will hold it up to, I'll just hold it up to the camera here. Mr. RuPaul.
Oh, I want to read that.
The House of Hidden Meanings. Oh my gosh. I've just started it. I'm probably only on chapter 2 or 3. I listen to it when I walk the dog. Wow. I mean, the introduction is him explaining why the title is The House of Hidden Meanings. And he says things like, in this life, you have to make your own magic. So that's what I did. And it's just so inspiring. And no matter what you think of RuPaul or any, Drag Race, any of that stuff, he's just such a testament to being who you truly are and not changing that for anyone. And that's what he did his whole life, against unbelievable odds and, having no one in his corner a lot of the time. And he just said, nope, I'm going to be true to myself no matter what. And obviously it worked out pretty well for him. But I'm really hoping he tells all about the Studio 54 days and all the wild and crazy stuff he did in New York. But I'm still at the beginning. I'm still in his childhood, which was fascinating in itself. So I'm looking forward to getting to the rest of it. I have another murder mystery. I guess I'm in a murder mystery mood this month. This one is called Hollywood Homicide by Kelly Garrett. And this is part of a series. And I think they all have Hollywood in the name. I'm not sure. This is the first one. And she's a washed up young actress, basically. She starred in some commercials and then couldn't get any better roles, and then she gets embroiled in a murder mystery, but it's all set amongst, the backdrop of Hollywood and the directors and actors, and of course the guy who has a crush on her is on a famous CSI like TV show and stuff like that. So it's kind of cool. She's zany. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's very funny and silly, and she's like, I don't know how to solve a mystery, but she manages to do it anyway, and it's so she's not like a professional detective or anything. And it's very, very entertaining and humorous, and I really recommend that one. I'm almost done with it. So I'm about to find out who done it. Those are the 3 that I have.
I did put into the comments for everyone who's tuned in. If you listen to audiobooks, if you listen through your library, all good. If you listen on that big streaming downloading service, please check out Libro.fm. And it's just Libro.fm, not LibroFM.com, just Libro.fm. Libro supports indie bookstores, also supports A Mighty Blaze. We are an affiliate. Your credits never expire. If you leave Libro, they do not take your books away. Once you buy an audiobook, it is yours to keep forever. You can listen across devices. They're a social purpose company. They put social causes above profits, and they have never sent anyone to space. So please check out Libro.fm. I think if you use the code SWITCH and you switch this month, because they are supporting Independent Bookstore Day and independent bookstores. So if you switch to Libro, I think you get 2 free audiobooks. Diane's a Libro.fm subscriber. Awesome. Thank you, Diane. Yes. So if you switch this month, you'll get 2 free credits through Libro.
And the way it works is you pick your favorite local bookstore. You can pick anyone, really. And it's just like buying the book straight from them. They get all the money. Not all, but they get, a chunk of money.
A nice chunk.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yay. All right.
I'll go.
Yes.
I love Libro too. I listen.
Karen, let's hear it.
So, okay. Unfortunately, Mary and I are going to kind of overlap with our books, but it's still all good. So I know I read Caroline's book. And I just want to say that I truly was hooked from the first page. The story of Ella and her boyfriend Jude, and what happens to Ella. The love story is intense, but it's so interesting, and I know it was well researched. The book was well researched, and it just kept me turning the pages. The love story and Ella's story, and this burden that she carries with her through her life. And that she has to learn to live with this, and she has to learn how to still have a good life, even though she has this kind of mark against her. It really touched me, and it made me when I finished it, I had so much to think about and just so much to take in, and I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Oh my God. Thank you.
Oh no, it's wonderful. I also read A Short Walk Through a Wide World. And I too feel I loved it. It was so good. Let's see. It was magical and mysterious. It's filled with love and courage and longing. It's just this original story that just took me in, and the story of her life and that she has to keep moving and moving. And one scene in particular, I mean, she had a moment where she could kind of rest and tell her story to a family on a boat. And it got to, it's just so, I just really liked it. This just how she had to keep moving and moving. And it just is so touching again, I really enjoyed this book. So then I have 2 more. These are coming out in paperback. So this one is Susanna Hoff's book.
I just listened to that one.
I want to read that.
It came out a year ago, but it's now in paperback. And
Great.
Susanna Hoffs is lead singer of the Bangles, the group from the 80s, which is awesome. And I know Mary interviewed her about a year ago.
On a Mighty Blaze, you can find it on our YouTube channel.
Yeah,
she was a
also,
delight.
I made a podcast out of that one too, so you can also listen
Thank
to
you,
it.
Trisha.
Yeah. So it's a delightful book. It's fun, and it's about music, and since Susanna's in the music world, you get this inside glimpse into that kind of the music business and all that. And I just found it was funny and joyful. I just really enjoyed it. And then my second one is also in paperback, and it's Christina Lauren, The True Love Experiment. And this was a 2023 NPR Best Book of the Year. And Christina Lauren is a New York Times bestselling novelist. And this is just sparks fly when a romance writer and a documentary filmmaker join forces to craft the ultimate Hollywood love story. But only if they can keep the chemistry between them from taking the whole thing off script. And again, I just thought this one was fun and sweet, and a great one to pick up for paperback. And also, I want to say one more thing. Mark Cecil's book came out. I didn't get a chance to read it, but I watched the interview with Jenna and Mark on A Thoughtful Bro, and it was great. So I highly recommend that interview if you get a chance.
Yes.
Lanyon and Henry. Sorry, I'm terrible.
It's really good. It's really good.
It was so inspiring. It made me tear up. It was just wonderful.
It's wonderful.
It is.
Love it.
Well, I've only read a couple
Ellen!
pages. Hello. I've only read a couple pages of Bunyan and Henry because I have other stuff that I have to get done first. But I was really sort of depressed that I couldn't keep going right away. So my audiobook, and I'm not done with it yet. Oops, I don't.
It's hard to get it in.
How do you do this? Oh, that's not it. That's my.
It looks like an X-ray.
That is my. Yeah, sorry about that. It's shifted. That was an X-ray.
Wow.
There you go.
There it is.
Oh,
Barry Lapena.
Barry Lapena.
Everyone here is lying, which I'm listening to right now. I've got about an hour and a half left. They sort of solved a whole bunch of the crime. I have no idea what's going to happen next, but it's about a little girl who goes missing. Lots of people get accused. Everybody here is lying. They all live in the same neighborhood or work at the same hospital. And you just don't know what's happening. So it's really compelling. I too listen while I walk the dog, and the dog has gone on a lot of long walks lately as a result. I'm going to do a throwback to a book that Caroline did on one of her shows, Anna Turns, by Lisa Gornick.
yeah, I love Lisa.
Which was a really great read. It's a woman turning 60 who, like Mrs. Dalloway, spends the day roaming around New York City, connecting with all these people she's related to or sleeping with in advance of her 60th birthday party, where all of them will then reconvene. And it's just beautifully written, and she's got a fascinating life, and all the relationships are interesting, and it was just really nice. We did this in a book club, and people really enjoyed talking about it. The next book, I have a couple that are not out yet. This is Invisible Labor, the untold story of the cesarean section by Rachel Summerstein, who had a very traumatic, unplanned cesarean section that she starts the book by telling you about. I'm not giving any secrets. And she decides, she's a journalist, she decides she should do some research. What's the history? Why is this the most common surgery that's being performed? What is it about this surgery that, reflects on the medical community and how they treat women's health in general? I haven't read it all, but I really liked it. And it's coming out in June. Also coming out in June, the Uptown Local, Joy, Death, and Joan Didion. This is written by Corey Leadbeater, I believe you pronounce his name, who as a student in Columbia, was encouraged to apply for a job to be an assistant to an author. And he said, sure, I'll do it. And he had no idea that the author was Joan Didion. And he spent 9 years as her assistant, ultimately living with her, taking care of her, going places with her, having dinner with her every night. And it's his own story, but it's also this story of this great relationship they had. And of course, Joan Didion. So it's all very interesting and very good. I'm going to hype once again a book that I did on my show, Debut Spotlight, Jaded by Ella Lee. The only depressing thing about this book is that she wrote it in a month and had it in contract within 6.
No.
And wait, she had never written a book.
No.
She had never taken a creative writing class. She didn't go to a workshop or a retreat. She sat down during COVID and wrote 3 chapters and said, I've got something here. She's very smart.
Wow.
Honestly. It's a good book. It's about a young lawyer in London who goes to a holiday party and gets a little tipsy. That head of the company is hitting on her and being pretty aggressive. And another guy comes to her rescue, or so she thinks. And she wakes up and she knows something's happened, but she doesn't quite remember the details.
Uh-oh.
And it's contemporary, it's funny, there's great friendships, there's dealing with her parents, dealing with her boyfriend and his family, and how it's just a beautiful read. And I can't hate her for writing a book in a month because it's such a good book. But
Great.
great. 2 more. This is coming out next week, The Wives by Simone Gorindo. She's going to be on my show next Wednesday at 2:00, Debut Spotlight. And the reason we had to move it is because she's going to be on Good Morning America first. And they said, hey, we have to go that way first. I said, no problem. This is a memoir by a woman who was living in New York City, married, and her husband says, guess what, honey? I want to join the army and I'd like to be deployed to Afghanistan. And she was, I think, a young 30s, had no clue. And she goes, wait a minute. And he said, no, this is what I'm doing. And I'm going to do it with you or without you. And so she finds herself on base in Georgia, where she's never lived, and meeting all the other wives, many of whom are quite different than she is, and dealing with her husband being in training and what he's like when he comes back. And it's just fascinating. It's a great insight into what it is to be an army wife.
Who is the author of that?
It's Simone Gorindo, Gorrindo.
Okay.
So this is coming out next week, and she'll be on the show on Wednesday.
Everybody needs to tune in Wednesday, A Mighty Blaze, 2 p.m. Eastern, right,
Yes.
Ellen?
It's going to be on Wednesday, which is not our usual
Wednesday.
day, but that's when we could get her.
Wednesday,
And then the
2
next
p.m.
one
Eastern.
I'm really excited. I know, Caroline, you've done an interview with this woman, as has Jenna and maybe everybody else on this show. But my first time, I'm going to be interviewing Lionel Shriver tomorrow at 4 p.m. as our Friday frontliner.
Is that tomorrow? Oh my God.
Yes, tomorrow. Yes. Mania. And Mania is an alternative history of our current times in which the law of the land is called MP, which stands for mental parity. Not parody, but parity, meaning that everybody is as good and smart as everyone else, and anybody who says otherwise is ostracized, is punished, is kicked out of schools. And so as a professor, the main character, everyone gets admitted to college. You don't have to turn in your homework. You have to pass because everyone's good. every idea is a good idea. You can tell your teacher 2 + 3 = 82, and they're like, great. And it's comical. It gets a little into politics, but it mostly revolves around a woman who is a professor who never thought of herself as very brilliant, but she has a great friend, and they come down on opposite sides of this idea. And the main character, Pearson Converse, is like, this is the biggest idiotic idea, and I have to behave well when I'm in the classroom, but at home I can talk about how dumb it is. And her friend goes on as a TV journalist commentator and says, this is the world's best thing. And what a wonderful place it is when everybody's equal. You can't even talk about being smart. And this has implications for IQ tests and schools and workplaces and politics. And it's just a fascinating read. And she's going to be on our show tomorrow. So 4 p.m. on the 5th at Friday Frontliner. So I'm very excited to interview her.
Exciting interviews coming up for you, Ellen.
That's really
Yes.
great.
Yes, I was
Really
excited to get
great.
this one. It's been a busy reading time.
Do you feel ready for the interview
Yes.
tomorrow?
You know, I would say, and I don't want to give this away, but the hardest part is looking at all the good books that are coming out and narrowing it down to the couple you might want, and then trying to get the publicist to agree and coordinate it.
Yeah.
This author came to us and said, we want to do your show. We want to be on the show at the Blaze because they've had such a good time with us in the past. And so this one was easy. I knew this was just, here's when it's going to be on your show. Can you do it that day? The interviews themselves, I think they just race right by. There's always good things to talk about with the authors.
They're fun. They're
And-
really fun.
Yeah, and I think their authors, I mean, I had no idea with Ella Lee of Jaded. You know, I just said, so what's your writing background? I'm sure your writing as a debut novelist is very different from what you did as a lawyer. And out comes this factoid that she did this, literally wrote the book in a month. And I'm like, wait a minute. And so there was, you know, I was a former journalist, so I'm always thinking of questions and what the next question is. And I don't do a whole lot of, this is my dirty little secret. I have a couple little notes written down of ideas, like here's a couple questions I might ask or topics.
That's
And I just sort of-
incredible.
And I just sort of see how it goes. And
You don't even write
There's
down
lots-
questions.
I go left.
You're amazing. I couldn't do that.
Yeah, but I can't do a lot of other things. So that's one of the things I'm good at.
That's your superpower.
Yeah, that's
It is your superpower.
I think
It's
so.
incredible.
So it's a lot of fun, and I think as a result, the interviews tend to be. I encourage people to tune in and see if I'm lying about it, but they seem to be just sort of organic conversations.
Spontaneous.
Yeah, they just go where they go, and at the end of the time, we wrap up and on to the next.
Yeah, that's the best kind. Even if you have questions ready, it's better to just.
Yeah.
See where it
Yes.
goes. So once I get through next week, then I can get into Bunyan and Henry and a few other things, and I do have one great book coming in May, which is called Whale Fall, not to be confused by Whale Fall that came out last year, but it is a little bit similar in feeling, I think, to Clear. I don't know if you've read Whale Fall or not. It's by Elizabeth.
They haven't sent it to me, and people keep talking about it and saying, well, Mary, you've read it, right? And I'm
Well,
like,
you can find it on NetGalley if you're really determined. It's a beautiful book set on an island off of Britain, and two ethnographers sort of come to say, how are these people living in this isolated island, and what is it about these people that makes it so interesting? And it's just a beautifully written story about the people on this island and how they interact with these people who come to observe them, so to speak. And it's just lovely. I mean, I read that and just raced through it and called the publicist right away and said, okay, Please, please, please. And this book is a debut. There was a 10 publishing house auction anymore.
Wow.
Wow.
So I think I think this is gonna land big. I hope it will. And you can see that on Debut Spotlight in May.
Ellen, can you explain what NetGalley is for someone that might not know?
Kind of. NetGalley is an online site to which many publishers post the books that they are coming out with, and readers and reviewers and people, booksellers and Blaze hosts and others can sign up. And as long as they have a legitimate reason to say, hey, yes, I will review your book, whether they have a blog, whether they're going to post something on Twitter or Facebook, or even just go into Goodreads and post it, or go back onto NetGalley and put a comment in, you can request to download books. And you can either read them through the NetGalley app, or I download things to my Kindle, and you have to wait. You have to put in your request and put a little comment to the publisher, and you might have to wait a couple days, and then it will show up on your shelf, and you can download it. And almost all of the books that I am seeing that I've shared today, my first introduction to them has come through NetGalley, where I will just go through. Now I'm in a fairly targeted idea of I want to find books that are debuts, but you can search by genre. You can say, gee, I want, I'm looking for a great book to read to give to somebody in August that's a new book, and you can go look for books that are coming out in June and July. And it's a great resource, and you just have to be committed to going back on and posting a review, and if you like the book, being willing to talk it up like we do at the Blaze. So great resource.
And Caroline, you are on tour, are you not?
I am. It's really crazy.
How can people come see you?
Well, I'm doing like a whole lot of stuff every day. Mostly right now I'm doing NPR stuff. Then I'm going to Unbound with Mary and Mark Cecil next week. Then I'm going to Tampa. Then I'm going to Boston, which I'm excited about because all the Blazers were there. And that's my hometown. Then I'm going to
know that.
Yeah, I grew up I'm a Waltham girl. Then I'm going to
No
Vermont.
way.
Yeah, Waltham
I
High.
know that.
Then I'm going to Vermont. Then I'm going to Connecticut. Then I'm going to, I forget where else. It's just sort of I keep telling myself, all you have to do is get to June and then you can relax. It's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, I'm very lucky that I have all these events, but it's a lot. And I keep and they always get rescheduled, and it's anxiety producing, but it's fun.
Nice.
Absolutely. And Mark Cecil is touring right now.
Yep.
So if you find him on social media or go to his website, he's in Minnesota tonight, and I think through the weekend, and then he's going to be in Louisville on Monday night, and then he gets into Chicago on Tuesday.
Oh my God.
And then he will also be down at Unbound, as Caroline said. I just want to say, with Bunyan and Henry, couple of things. I know I talked about it last month as well, but it's rare for me that I come across a book that I can recommend to men and that is multi-generational. I feel like this is a wonderful book, and not just for father, son, grandfather. I mean, it can be, it can be grandmother, son, granddaughter, but multi-generational. It's perfectly, in my opinion, perfectly suitable for even young teens.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, not only suitable, but it leads to what I believe are great conversations on classism and racism and friendship. And it's got quest and
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Gross, but she's telling you there's lots of quests and puzzles, and it's a
Also,
story.
fun fact, Mark began this story as bedtime stories for his
Nice and
kids.
sexy.
For his kids, which is so absolutely charming. It's inspirational, and the ideas in it are wonderful. You know, that there's equality, you follow your dreams, you don't get sucked into jobs or situations you don't want.
Right.
It's wonderful. He calls it the gleam, you know, like you just go towards the gleam to have a
Follow
better
your
life.
dreams.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, it's great.
If I could throw in a plug too, I'm going to be having an event May 4th. May the 4th be with you in Lowell, Mass at Lala Books. Lala Books in Lowell. And
Great.
I don't have the actual book on me, but let's see.
But you have a big poster.
I have a big
Yes,
poster.
that counts.
Beautiful.
It's this one right here. It's sorry, this one. This one. Book 3, the last one. Thank heavens, is coming out in a couple weeks, April 23rd. But the event is May 4th at Lala Books in Lowell. If anybody wants to join me, it's actually their halfway to Halloween party. So it's gonna be
Oh, I
all
love
filled with
that.
Halloween stuff, and my book has to do with witches, so we're all going to be kind of crazy witchy dressed
That
up.
sounds wonderful.
And is Hank still on tour?
I think she
I
is.
think she is. Yeah,
She is.
So
Yeah.
the Blazers are blazing out there in the world.
yeah.
Yeah.
Can I ask all of you, do you find a difference reading on, excuse me, on an e-reading and a real book? Because I read The Garden first on an ebook, and I thought, okay, I liked it. And then because I had to interview Claire Beams, I read it last week, and I absolutely went nuts for this book. It just read differently when I read it on a real book, and I couldn't stop reading, and I was just so involved, and I just absolutely loved it. And now I don't want to read on e-readers anymore, though it's convenient.
Yeah.
But there's something about a real book.
Yeah.
Am I nuts? Do you feel that way?
No, I feel that way. And a real book, I prefer a real book, but I will read on an e-reader.
Right.
What I find is easy. The easier thing is that you can read at night, like, you know, and you don't need a light or book light or
Yeah.
anything. That to me is like the convenient part. But yeah, there's something about an actual book. you know.
But Karen, do you know that there is a light? I actually saw it on Read with Jenna. It's like a snaky light, and you put it over your head like this, and it has like 2 lights on the end of it, so you can like read at night. Because I could never read real books at night either. The light just wasn't bright enough.
Right.
I have one that goes around the back of my neck, and it
Yeah,
points.
yeah,
forward.
that's what I have.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And I have one that clips on, or that you can actually make it an orangey shade or a cooler shade.
Does it work? Does it?
It
is
works
it
pretty
bright?
well. Yeah, you have to, and you can charge it up, which is nice. But what I like is with an e-reader, you can search for something easily.
That's
So if
true.
you've forgotten a character and where did they show up and why do I care? You can search for the character's name
Yeah.
and go
that is-
back and refresh your memory.
yeah.
I mean, I will with a real book. You know, if I'm reading it and I know I'm going to do it, I'll be tabbing things. And sometimes I'll remember, I'm like, oh yeah, that was on a left-hand page. Where was it? And I can sort of remember if it was a paragraph that struck me the first time, I can sort of find it again, even if I haven't tabbed it. But the e-reader, the portability of it,
The portability can't be
nighttime
beat.
reading,
You have 50
the
books,
search,
50 books on it at a time.
Oh, yeah.
or more, which is great. Which is
especially
great.
for vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially for vacation.
I'm looking in the comments here, and Jenny's saying hard copy for me, definitely. Robin is saying, I find reading a book in hand versus ebook versus audio is a different experience each way.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. Even audio. I will read horror on audiobooks. No, I love it. It's like so.
Why
It's
doesn't that surprise me?
I do. I actually listened to The Exorcist because it was read by the author.
Oh,
And it was so stupendous. And I have to admit, I read it during the day. I listened to it during the daytime, but I like that. Different kinds of reading for different kinds of time.
Well, I think audio is nice if you really hear the author's voice.
Yeah.
Abraham Verghese was the narrator for Covenant of Water, which I don't know how many hours it would have taken to listen because it took many, many hours to read. But the people who listened were really thrilled. And I just listened, one of my favorite books is, I think it's either just out in paperback or soon to be, is Idra Nove's Take What You Need, which came out last year and was on many best books of the year and is up for some prizes. It has two main characters and the chapters alternate. And she read the daughter character and then had a different author. And I know her personally, so I could hear her voice. But I think sometimes when it's a memoir or an autobiography and it's read by the author, and you just hear them in your head, it's a very different sensation.
It is different.
Than if you're reading it and trying to imagine their voice.
Who's ever narrating it depends. You want them to be. Sometimes you can't listen to them for some reason or another, but a really good audio narrator is incredible. Yes. Okay, well, Mary is not here, so I'm going to say it's actually like 4 minutes left. Does anybody have any more that they'd like to say? I just want to say again that this book, The Garden, it's so incredible and it's so prescient. It's about the control of women's bodies, especially when we're pregnant. Claire Beams is just an extraordinary writer. And it's just, this book, it broke me. I mean, it was just, to me, it's like the biggest compliment. It's eerie. It's strange. It's about nature, the sinister nature of nature. And she's wonderful. I interviewed her and I just sort of fell in love with her because she's like exuberant and smart, and that's don't you find that's part of the pleasure of doing these shows where you get to talk to the authors and sometimes you might feel intimidated and then the author turns out to be really goofy and wonderful, or other times you can't wait to talk to this author and they turn out to be really serious.
yeah.
You never know. That's why you have to tune in to every single show.
Yes.
I want to thank you all for being here, and please tune in to every single show, especially tomorrow when Lionel Shriver will be here with Evelyn Commissar. That's at 4:00, right?
Correct. Friday Frontliner at 4.
Lionel's interviews are always amazing, and so are Ellen's. So you want to check into that. And many thanks to wonderful Karen, who saves me every week for the graphics. And many thanks to Trisha Blanchett. I wish I could hug you. And also Abby is hiding, but many thanks to Abby also. Is totally wonderful. So thank you all, and we'll see you the next time. And I guess that's it.
Thank you.
Night.
Bye.